Public Works meeting. Mr. Josh Elder.
Notified, properly notified.
Properly notified. We are only missing Mr. McGuire, correct, for roll call? I skipped that one. Agenda approval. I have one request to move number 13 up to in behind number 6. So our treasurer can get back to Casanova for their EMS meeting, which is, thank you for your service as that. So move and second to approve the agenda with one change. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All right. We have an agenda. Previous minutes. Number 5. Anybody have any questions on the minutes as they were posted in our folders? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve as presented in the folder.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. McKee, seconded by Mr. Carroll. Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. All right, we have the minutes from last month approved. Public comment. Anybody here for public comment? I think we are good on public comment. We're going to go to number 13. Down to number 13, bid awarding for tax parcel 006-0634-4100, Town of Buena Vista. We tabled it last month because we had a 3-3 tie of those that were here on the committee. So we will bring it off the table with a motion from somebody that was at the meeting, Mr. Cosgrove, seconded by Mr. Carroll. We have it on the floor for discussion. We will. Who else was missing? Mr. Manning? But you know the background, and Julie, I filled her in a little bit. Do you have any other questions on? If not, I would take it. Anybody have questions more on it? Otherwise, we're just going to take it to a vote again.
Actually, I guess I do have a question.
Go ahead.
As far as the two parties that have bid, the party with the lower bid, their intention, it says just to leave it as.
They are here. Tiffany, would you have a chance? Would you want to? Julie was not at the last meeting, so she's just curious what your intentions are with the property.
So, is it on, Barb? Okay, so to meet the code or bid requirement, bring up to code, a plan is to completely demolish what's there. We have a few different ideas or potential ideas, for future plans, but as far as putting them in our bid to make it part of the contract that we'd have to be committed to and have completed within the 2 years, that's not set in stone enough to make that commitment to this committee. So our current plan is to demolish all the buildings that are there and start over.
So do you have ideas as far as what you would be planning, or?
Yes, we have a couple different ideas on the table for, that would be potentially commercial, I guess. Do you want to hear the ideas?
I don't know if everybody else is interested.
I just want it to be locked in
Yeah,
as part of the.
yeah. Did you discuss it last month?
No.
Oh, okay.
When I say we've been discussing it, I mean.
Gotcha.
Attorney Wendell, if she states on the official minutes what their potential ideas are for the property, are they binded to that? Okay.
So potential would say, according to our generous lawyer.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a couple comments.
Go ahead, Mr. McKee.
Okay, we don't necessarily have to take the high bid. However, it's my understanding, and maybe Attorney Wendell could clarify that, is if we don't take the highest bid, we have to have a good reason for not taking it. That's correct? Okay, at the last meeting last month, I heard no good reason for not taking the high bid. And the second comment I want to make is I'm looking at it from the county standpoint of what is what is gonna generate the greatest revenue for, the county? We have a bidder that says he's gonna demolish, my understanding is he's gonna demolish the motel, but he's gonna renovate the house.
Not what
The official bid does not state that.
So I think let's back up and have Mr. Even read the two official bids, please. Thank you, Tiffany. If we will have more questions for you, we'll grab you again.
All right, so in the order that, we're good? Okay, the order that bids were received. Bid number 1 was received by Logan and Tiffany Olson for $1,000. To meet the bid requirements for bringing the property up to code. It is our plan to bring the property up to current code by demolition. We attest that we have the resources available to finalize that plan within 2 years of the committee's acceptance of the bid. The second bid received by Alvin C. Christensen for $1,001. We plan on completing a remodel of the property motel house to include landscaping, repairing private water pump station and drain line to Sextonville sanitation. We plan to renovate the house within the first 6 months to rent out by fall of 2023. We also plan to have the 12 units renovated within the first 2 years to provide 12 transitional short-term rental units for individuals looking for a basic housing accommodation while waiting for a more permanent housing option within the county and surrounding area. This will be a month-by-month rental option.
Is that
Oh.
individual here?
Okay, but it is in the bid that they plan on renovating either the motel or the house,
It
right?
is in the bid, they plan to do both.
Okay, my point is, what is more valuable to the county as far as taxes is concerned? A vacant property or a property with a livable house on it? And it's a no-brainer. It's the property with the house, livable house, renovated house on it will command a greater property tax.
Potentially.
Potential. I mean, what are we out if he doesn't do anything, he said?
We're out waiting 2 years to get it cleaned.
But
I guess I didn't realize the house was on this parcel.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
The peaches,
the old house.
okay.
Huh?
No, it's not Peaches. Peaches is a separate property.
Hotel. The floodplain?
No.
I'd like to hear from the other party.
This is not the party that made the bid. This is just.
Okay. You're representing your,
Yes, I'm actually representing my dad. He's Alvin C. Christensen. My name is Alvin J. Christensen. Everything in the letter is what we're looking at doing right there. The biggest thing that is different is we are trying to keep this on tax roll right now. My bigger concern, my parents, we grew up in Lone Rock. There's budget constraints everywhere. So with this, we know it's in bad condition. There's other things we've done in the family, and I know I can't speak about myself, but like as my dad putting a bid in on this, he has reached out to the individual Harold Vickerman that is currently owning Peaches as well. And there is a contingent offer on that building as well, based on this hotel. So the decision of getting this hotel as well, it is a two-part deal. So that is looking at getting fixed up as well. But that won't go through unless the hotel goes through. Main reason for this being, the pump station is on Peach's property. So without getting that actual, without getting the hotel, you pretty much need the hotel to get Peaches. You need Peaches to get the hotel. So with this contingency, I believe there's nothing for the county to lose. If there's no progress made, they can take it back as well. So this is a great way to keep it on the tax roll. So
your dad would be doing 100% of the financing as far as?
he is doing 100% of the financing, correct? Yes.
Mr. Carroll.
I didn't hear the contingency as being part of the offer. Is it?
It is not.
Okay.
But they were, if I remember right, they were part of the bid process, correct?
Are you speaking the contingency of Peaches?
Correct.
Correct. No, there's no
No, that's not even on the agenda. That's.
Correct.
We discussed, but.
Correct.
The contingencies of having it up to code. Can you remind us of, do you have them in front of you?
Yep, so according to their bid, which would be the binding contract, the house would be renovated within the first 6 months to rent it out by fall of 2023. The 12 units would be renovated within the first 2 years to provide 12 transitional short-term rental units.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I think the contingency that AJ was talking about is the fact that if they don't get this, they're not going to purchase the other product, which has nothing.
Correct. That's why we said we're not discussing it.
Right.
But the other contingency I'm talking about is the one that they have 2 years. Where is that within the bid packet? Do you have that anywhere close to refresh everybody? on
Yep, that was one of our requirements laid out in our, the bid requirements approved by this committee was a 2-year window to complete, bring it up to code.
Bring it up to code.
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Carroll.
he can repeat, but I thought he said that he couldn't make this deal happen without getting Peaches as well, that they have to work together. So it is a contingency that bears on this parcel.
It does, but it's not on our agenda. Peaches parcel. Which county doesn't own, it's not on the agenda, it's not, shouldn't even be discussed. Mr. Wendell, your thoughts?
If the submitted bid is contingent on a condition other than one that the county set, that should be something that the committee is aware of and consider in their, whether or not to grant that bid. So it is an appropriate topic for conversation to the extent, just to clarify what that means in terms of a contingency.
Good. Clarification on that. Thoughts? Anybody else with questions?
Well, okay, so if the pump station's on Peaches' land, how are you gonna fix it?
Imagine in the documentation, it's a shared pump station, am I right?
I would assume, yeah, but
So one could have, one don't, let's say Peaches doesn't, the other can still renovate the pump station to suit the county's needs. And I might be wrong on that.
You would have to dig up an official agreement on who officially owns that pump station and who bears the responsibility of maintenance, repair, replacement.
what if they both do?
That's not information I have at this time. Again, that would have to go back to whoever installed it. Logan has something?
Go ahead, Mr. Olson. Logan Olson.
I'd like to just make a quick comment. I talked to Dale Service when we were going through this whole process, and he's the Sextonville Water Treatment, and he said that the lift station is privately owned, and they have no intentions of renewing, and he said the lift station is completely bad. He figured it would be at least $100,000 to renovate that lift station, and the sanitary department they basically don't want anything to do with it. They're not looking to add it back on. So that was one of our deciding factors as well, to tear it down, so.
Anybody with questions for Mr. Olson while he's at the mic? Mr. Christian, you had a comment?
So I also did meet with Sextonville Sanitation, and that's what they did say as well. They did dig up the road. They said that was part of the bills I was looking at this project as well, is they said about 60,000 is what they told me. And the thing is, they said it was taking on groundwater from the Peaches building, and that's the reason why the pump station burnt out, the pump burnt out, because it was taking on too much water. They did decide to cap it because of that. And then I did talk to Harold Vickerman. That's why he came involved with the Peaches and everything. He does own the pump station. He stated that it is in working order, and if I was to get the hotel, that it would be basically a payment plan with him in order to deal with the groundwater. He said it is in working condition, is what he told me. but that's kind of going back and forth. That would be an issue that have to get worked on before it would open up and pass the inspection.
Just,
Go
with
ahead.
with my municipal experience with wastewater treatment, anytime you involve a municipal system such as a lift station, you have to hire legitimate engineering firms such as, for example, Davie Engineering out of La Crosse, MSA out of Madison, to perform these studies, make the recommendations to the DNR, get the plans approved, and ultimately they would work with you to secure funding. But this isn't something that you can just hire a local plumber or DIY to complete. When it becomes a municipal sanitation system, there is a litany of requirements and red tape to go through.
But it's not municipal, it's privately owned.
But it's feeding into a municipal system.
Further questions or comments?
Just to clarify. 2 years.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Wendell, but if after 2 years the requirements are not met to bring it up to code via demolition or renovation, we would have to litigate to regain the properties, and then we're back here again to decide what we want to do with it as a breach of contract.
There's also the option to sue for specific performance. So essentially get a court mandate requiring the other party to fulfill the contract that they agreed to. Otherwise, that's punishable by contempt. Or if we have to perform the duties of the contract ourselves, we would, there'd be a potential liability for damages there.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Manning?
am I correct that this is in default as far as taxes now, and how many years of back taxes?
The taxes have been written off since the county took ownership. If I file in front of me, why don't I just look at it?
And while you're looking that up, as part of this, whoever gets this award, do they have to pay the back taxes?
Negative, no. The taxes were written off of our books once we took ownership of them. So the delinquent taxes went back to tax year 2016. The unpaid principal balance was $23,742.99 at that time. With accrued interest, this was as of May of last year when we first took this. It was around $32,000 that we wrote off.
Only comment I have been through the motel part, not the house, and I find it very difficult to believe that it could be renovated. To me, it'd be easier just to build new rather than to try to fix up what's there. I just find that hard to believe.
Things that scare people. So.
I don't think you're on.
Screen.
No, it's all.
Okay. So the things that concern me is, one, we don't know how the septic is going to work, one way or another, if they do renovate. The pictures I seen of the renovation, I would agree that the motel is, you'd be farther ahead to tear it down and start over. So I get a little concerned that we're gonna get this all done in a 2-year time span, not knowing what the septic is to make it. I don't know how you can get, unless the house has its own septic, which I'm not aware that it does. I think everything runs through that pump station that isn't owned by the person that's purchasing the house. I guess in my opinion, I think we're farther ahead demoing it and starting over. Guess that's just my opinion.
Any further comments? Otherwise, I'll call the vote. Mr. Carroll,
Sorry, call a vote with, for what?
we have two bids in front of us. We'll have to take, I assume we'll have to take another motion. How did we do it last time?
Last month, a motion was made towards one of the bids. And it went to a vote,
Vote of 3-3 ties.
correct?
I assume we would have to make a motion for one of the bids again. And we'll do a roll call vote. But
I'll make a motion. Sell it to.
I'll second it.
seconded by Fleming. Any further discussion? We'll go with a roll call vote. Who we have taking notes? Is that Lisa? You want to start with roll call vote right now?
No.
Yes. No.
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 Yes.
All right, so that is down. So, Mr. Wendell, do we have to turn around and vote for the other one, or does it automatically? All right. That does not pass as presented in a motion, so I would entertain a motion if it's somebody out there that wants to, for the Olsons.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry.
Motion by Manning, seconded by Cooey. Further discussion? If not, roll call vote again, please.
Yes.
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 Five, 5-1, 5-2.
You didn't ask.
We'll go second and second. Right, so it's not 5-2, it's 6-1. All right, so 6-1 is the vote in favor of Olson's getting the motel property. Done, move on.
All right, just one thing to touch, based on our county ordinances as they sit, finance and personnel makes the ultimate decision to award a bid on a tax deed property. So this is a recommendation to finance and personnel then to award the sale. So this will be on the finance and personnel agenda in June, which I believe is the first Wednesday at this point. So this will be a recommendation from Public Works to Finance and Personnel to award the sale of a tax deed property.
Yep.
I don't feel that it can be completed in the time frame. So that's why I voted the way I voted.
Myself as well.
I want to be back here 2 years from now, starting all over.
We'll have more than 1,000 hours wrapped up in coming back here. All right, number 7, administrative report. Courthouse maintenance.
I've only got 3 items here tonight. Window project has been completed on the building on the south side. All windows have been done. It's all been paid for. Door project, door to the courtroom has been put in. All ADA accessories are working and on it. Just gotta trim it out. The door downstairs, all ADA stuff will be put in this weekend, so we'll have all new pads and new opener, new push bar.
That'll be all completed this weekend. All the heating units that we've been having such an issue to get over the years or the last year, the 3 that we had purchased back or ordered back in July of last year or August of last year have all been delivered. They've all been installed. And we also received our 3 units that we ordered from Train. We got them in 4 weeks. So they are all here. So all 6 units over the last 2 years are done, or they're here. So that is now completed. That is it.
Any questions for Randy on any of those 3 projects? Thanks, Randy. Moving to number 8, discussion, possible action on East Hall facility. We need to take it into close now? I see that's number 9, or did we have some discussion we wanted to do prior? You want to talk? Yeah, Josh can update you. I twisted Josh's arm and we got him to mow. We had nobody mowing the grass out there.
So yeah, with the East Hall facility maintenance kind of falling short and that's because we sent them more this last Wednesday.
I can't hear. Is your mic on? Try again.
So with the East Hall, it needed its grounds maintained. Right now it's mainly mowing. The grass had yet to be mowed this year and it was getting extremely tall. Without having anybody do it, they reached out to the highway department. So we sent out a patrolman to facilitate that. He did go out there Wednesday and mow what he could of it. It's really long. We're going to have to send him back Monday to sweep up that yard and clean it up better. It took some time, but we'll stay on top of it until further accommodations can be made for the maintenance of the grounds at least.
Thank you, sir. Questions for Josh on that portion? If not, we'll go to number 9. Would entertain a motion. We'd go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting of specified public business wherever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Lisa got that? All those in favor of moving into closed session signify, we better do a roll call.
Steve, may I be a part of that?
Sure. He's the only one online?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Josh.
Yep.
Josh.
Josh is here. I'll let Lisa call the roll for closed session. Yes. Yes, please.
Mark?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, who else can? We'll get them back. Back in something. You are excused, Mr. Wendell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Steve,
Hey, Linda.
I didn't look at your agenda. Is there anything on there that you think I should be staying on for?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So we'll try to stay in communication, you and I, okay?
Yeah, let me know when you have that in writing.
Yeah, I'll see what best, I'll talk to Mike tonight and see what we can do.
Don't be sending him down there. He charges too much.
Hey, and you know, I know a lot about that pump at Saxonville.
Oh, number 10. MIF, Barb, you're up.
I'm leaving.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'm really glad we're getting Dean's Hall with the high school.
Mhm.
East Hall.
All right, so for MIS, as we do have bids that I will be asking us to put on to a special agenda. They are not on the item, or not an item here tonight, so we can't have action. We received them. They are for the jail locks upstairs, and they interface with the console. I will get those into your folders. I received them this afternoon. We received bids from 2 separate vendors. They did come in under budget for the project, which is excellent news. One came in $40,000 under, one came in at budget. So that's very good news. As I said, I'll drop those into your folders yet tonight. As excuse me. The other things on the county board, we'll add the website that you approved last month. It was my mistake in getting that onto the county board agenda. That'll be on there for this month to approve, so we can move forward on that. Short of that, I know that Mr. Caro asked for an update on the radio tower project. There will be one at finance, next finance meeting on the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Mr. Mike Day will be presenting there with the radio tower project update. And then he will also be at county board on Tuesday to give an update. Other projects that we have going on currently, there are a lot of them. Of course, we'll be making many changes and updates. Jason, what else?
County boardroom.
We have not signed a contract with the vendor. We did get our other bids back. They did not come in as well as we were hoping. So we will be moving forward with the initial bid that you saw in your packets for $55,000. But the contract has not been signed. I have not been presented with the contract yet.
So with some of these projects coming up, you're going to be probably seeing a lot more vendors coming through the courthouse. We'll coordinate with Randy and make sure that he's aware of everybody that's coming through. There's going to be some grounding work. We'll be working on some electrical work. There'll be cameras potentially going up with part of this contract. And then with the fire alarm panel, I think, was it a week or 2 ago? I think a kid pulled an alarm or pulled one of the pull stations. There is the ability for dispatch to do an intercom to do, like an overhead page to say false alarm. However, the newer side edition does not have speaker strobes. It just has horns. So they were not able to hear any of those messages. So we'll be bringing Johnson Controls in, I think I think he's gone next week, but the following week we'll meet with Randy and walk through and just get some numbers for you guys to look at. Because there will be some definite labor in that, as more wiring would have to be added in order to make the speakers work. But with that, there's other options that we're researching right now that would have the ability to interface into that system for like bomb threats, other security threats that we want to try to get all the players involved in at some point too. They were here like 2 days ago to pull in fiber for the EZNet. However, that didn't get completed. The contractors, with what was designed or laid out for them, was not really what was there, and we researched through the catacombs and looked in some other areas, and we're not able to actually get a way into the building, so they'll be coming back at some point also.
I think that's enough for today.
I had just had a question come up. Do you guys, I know the school districts do it, Code Orange, do we have a active shooter training?
They have done active shooter training here. The sheriff's department offered that. They also did it across the street. Each building does their own because each department has their own procedures. But both buildings have done them.
Any questions for Barb? Anybody? 11. That'd be you, Josh. Highway.
All right, we'll just start with the regular administration report. We're going right into our busy season. I've stayed before in the past. Right now, our crews are scattered all over the place. We're doing the regular spring maintenance, shouldering roads, patching, some tree removal, things of that nature, and then we're also continuing to prep the county roads that we are repaving this year. That'll be a full depth pulverized and repaved, so that would be Double J, goes in front of the airport. This is about a mile stretch there, and then you're looking at County Road Double O from Santa Claus Lane to Riverview Ridge, about 3 miles or so there. And then you're looking at County Road W, which goes from Highway 60 to County Line, which is just a couple miles again, and those are all gonna be full depth pulverized and repaved. Then we're also gonna be doing our seal coating this year, and we're doing about 15 miles worth, and we have received all the material from Farner for that, which is now stored in our sand and salt shed to keep it high and dry as much as possible, because wet chips create a large amount of problems. On the state side, we started the spraying, roadside spraying, which is brand new to the county. This is a system I kind of briefed you guys on prior to this. It's a new thing that the state's doing in our county, but it's been done in La Crosse County and Grant County in past years with great success. It's not a herbicide, it's a growth inhibitor. So what it does is it stunts the growth of the plant life along the road. We're only doing about 15 feet from the edge of the road going down into the ditch. And by doing this, we can limit the amount of mowing that we do, because we don't do any mowing during the spring and summer on the state roads except for the safety mowing around the intersections. And then come fall time, we'll mow things back. One of the biggest advantages of using this chemical on the road, which again is non-hazardous to your livestock, it's not hazardous to the corn, it'll stunt the growth if it's right next to the road, but hey, it's in the right of way, is that it'll help eliminate parsnip over time. Because what it does, it stunts that growth of parsnip. Parsnip can't get to the seed, and then in years to come, you'll start to see parsnip go away. If this is shown with great success on our state roads in the county, we'll develop a proper vegetation policy involving this chemical, and we'll apply it to the county roads, but we want to give it a couple years and see how it does on the state roads. State crew's been at it for about a week and a half now, and we've only had one phone call about it. And all they wanted to know if it was harmful to their animals, and they were real polite about it. I also put it out on WRCO to prep everybody, get them in the loop. And then also with that interview I did for WRCO, the questions of the 4 lanes got brought up. The 4 lanes were originally scheduled for 2024, which I made the mistake of opening my mouth and saying 2024. The very next day after that interview aired, the state decided to kick the can down the road to 2026. The reason being is that in 2024, the original job was to come in and mill off just a couple inches of the concrete surface and repave it. Bad idea from the start, in my opinion, along with our state superintendent, along with many maintenance people, because when you just mill that first couple inches, all that cracking from below comes right back through. They have finally decided to do a full depth replacement of those 4 lanes. So they'll take it all the way down to base and start over fresh. And that's why I got kicked back to 2026. So there is some silver lining there. And that's what I have for the administration report, Mr. Chair.
You're gonna come back with blacktop or concrete?
At this point, they're still saying blacktop, but that's to be determined because they basically went back to the start line.
Yeah. Mr. Chair,
Mr. Carroll, and I went back there.
Okay,
I just wonder what the stuff is that you're gonna be putting on the sides of the road. Do you have an MSDS for it?
Yeah, we do. I have all that stuff back at the shop. So if you'd like that, I can provide you that information. There's a whole slideshow the state puts together for this.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
does this chemical have an impact on honeybees?
Actually, it helps the honeybees, so it may stunt the growth of the grass and everything, but it promotes the insect habitat. So not even milkweed is really affected by this chemical. It helps grow that. So insects and everything tend to thrive with this.
Yes,
You
sir.
had mentioned that there were call submitted caller. I had concern because I saw the truck and extremely rude. Into figuring out to make sure that it was light to state that they said it was honeybee concern. I had worked in land management and preventative maintenance with invasive species. And I guess my concern is, I mean, as well as many others, is the budget. I guess when it comes to the state perspective, you had said that this is a new program that they have, experimented in.
La Crosse County and Grant County.
Yeah. That being so, there's not very much research done into the effectiveness of it.
Well, can I speak to that?
And then just one other thing. excuse me, one other thing is if it's only being treated 15 yards from the road line, how is that gonna have any impact on the rest of the county? I mean, in terms of invasive species and spread of, certain, horticulture plants or whatever, how is that gonna have an impact overall by spraying the entire county ditch line with herbicide?
Okay, again, it's not a herbicide. It's not gonna kill anything. It's just gonna stunt its growth. Second, going back to the beginning about only being in La Crosse County for a short time. Actually, before the state sponsored this and started using it on the state roads, La Crosse had already been doing this for a good 15 to 20 years and seeing no impact to vegetation besides maintain visibility. The reason for the 15 feet extending from the edge of the road down the ditch is because that is the standard mowing width that we are authorized to do by the state. They don't let us go anywhere past 15 feet on the straightaways. Yeah, well, that, and it's also a budget concern for the state of how much mowing is getting done out there. The only time we can approach past that 15 feet is again at the intersections, and that's for safety. Then they let us clear those back, but just the intersections and maybe like a sharp corner where visibility is low.
And what is the budget on that? I mean, when statistics of, spare dollars, where does?
Well, that money is coming directly from the state. It's not coming right out of Richland County. I believe that one was estimated, 50,000. I think 50,000 is what they put into this for doing just the state roads in the county, no county roads, just state roads. Correct.
That mowing, estimated mowing for 15 feet would cost how much?
That would be a replacement of the 50,000. That's where it's coming from. So basically it's a flop of the mowing. At this point, yes.
Anybody else have questions regarding that? Otherwise, we can go into the bit one more.
Yeah, I guess other than, the fact that it's a state procedure, how, is that voted on, amongst the counties, whether or not they want to participate in this practice or?
So every month we have a Southwest District meeting of commissioners, and the state comes to that and they look for counties to proceed into to do that. Yeah. So I did volunteer Richland County to try this because again, it's the state roads. It's the state's liability on this. We did not do it on county roads yet because the state has full liability for whatever happens on the state roads and the money.
So is there any kickback or any incentive that the state gives to the counties that participate?
Big incentive for us, like I said, it's a wash-in cost, for the mowing that the state give us, but it's also saving on the county's equipment. And our equipment has had a lot of deferred maintenance in the past. So by eliminating the amount of mowing I have to do in summer and spring, I don't have to spend near as many hours on equipment. And
Where did the equipment come from, the spray units that were being used?
the state bought it.
State.
Yep, and then they actually pay the county for the use of the trucks, but the spray systems were all purchased by the state.
As well as the product.
Correct.
Part of the 50,000.
Well, it's probably above and beyond the 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, the overall initial investment is 50,000, but it's gonna be less than that in years to come, because now we have the full operational units, and it does give us the availability to be able to go into other counties and build revenue back to Richland County, because they can hire us for our equipment to come in and do that.
And if we have hotspots, if we want to eventually within the county, on county roads.
Right.
Parsnip, we may even try an area that's highly infested with parsnip and just see what it does.
Correct.
Mr. Carroll, you're gonna nominate your area?
There's a bit there.
Okay. If nothing else, let's go into the bills.
Okey-dokey. So monthly bills, again, we're ramping up in the summer, so they're coming up a little bit, but they're still within that acceptable range. Besides the normal operating costs, we're gonna go down into, let's see here, mulching, our fuel, LED lights. Now the LED adjustable lights, that's not actually for the trucks, that's for our shop. So we have a bunch of old fluorescent light systems in there. So every month I've been, buying 3 or 4 lights, and we've been slowly changing those out to go to all LED throughout the shop. Otherwise, pretty much standard cross down through. You'll see the Farner asphalt, the 3/8 watch fractured quartz chips for 85,000. That's what we had done a bit on in the beginning part of the year for seal coating. So that's what we're identifying for the seal coating material cost. Otherwise, nothing else major.
I assume that's engineering cost?
Yep, that was for County Road O project and the County Road A project that we are been working on for a while. The O project, that's the 20-year-old project that's been lingering and it continues to linger. Hopefully we'll reach an end of that in July. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens with the state budget. And the County Road A project is what we're doing as a shelf project to be prepped for when funding becomes available somewhere. You'll see the biggest one, part sale, utility sales and service, that's 45,000. That is for one vehicle and one vehicle alone. It's our sign truck. That's the truck that goes out there, does all the signs alongside the highway, drills all the holes, mounts all the signs, so on and so forth. That truck was purchased as a brand new truck in, I believe, 2015, and we put it into service in 2016. But that's just for the truck and the chassis. The crane, unfortunately, was a 1970s model crane that got a new slap coat of paint. Those cranes do have to be inspected on a yearly basis to be, user friendly and not kill anybody along the state highways or any road. When we sent it up to utility sales and service to have it inspected, they found out that there was all kinds of things wrong with that crane. And being as old, that age of that crane, parts were just not available and they had to custom make parts for that. So it sat up there for, I think, almost a month and a half trying to either wait on back ordered parts, obsolete, or they had to custom fabricate to bring that truck back to service. So it was a necessary expenditure, but it's also a lesson learned is don't buy 1970s equipment that you can't get parts for anymore. So. Other than that, that's the monthly bills, 414,282, and keep in mind some of that will be reimbursable.
Josh,
Yeah.
with that sign truck, what's it cost to make the crane and everything? So what's a new crane cost?
I've been out of the crane market for a while. New crane, you're probably going to be looking at approaching $100,000.
It's just something that we paid for half of it.
Yeah, basically.
We still have it.
And we still got 1970 crane.
Exactly.
So just something to think about with your equipment.
Yep. So we'll be moving that one up on the replacement list.
Because I'd hate to spend another 45,000 next year.
Yeah.
Gosh, that truck we just bought had be used at all.
That one cannot be used. So the crane that there's the two differences between the crane is the one on the sign truck is a larger crane that has an auger assembly built into it and a winch. The one on that new truck is too small of a unit, doesn't have enough lifting capacity to pull posts out of the ground if they're really stuck in, and it does not have the auger attachment. So you can use it for guardrail, which is a good reason why we ended up with that truck, but not so good for doing signs with. The sign truck is a very specialty item that counties have to go out and custom build from the ground up.
I'd entertain a motion to pay the bill that presented. Mr. Cooey, Mr. Cosgrove, any further discussion, gentlemen? And one, nice ladies. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right. Do you have anything else for us, Mr. Elder?
Yeah, number
12. Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right, so a couple months ago, at the 2 meetings ago, I think it was, or maybe 3, we brought up having to replace again. You hear me say it almost every meeting is deferred maintenance, replacement of equipment that's too old. Playing that old sad song. So one of the pieces of equipment wanted to look at replacing was our wheeled excavator. For those of you who may not know what a wheeled excavator looks like, there is a picture of one on the screen. That is a machine that we use for driving itself down county or state highways to be able to work right off the edge of the road or right in the lane of traffic with minimal impact to the blacktop. So we did this time as we understood that we're trying to go in the direction of either a lease or a rent program. Rent program being what I preferably would do. On a wheeled excavator, there is no rental program because it is an extremely small market, so that leaves us with the lease option. Lease option's not bad. You can spread those payments out over, 5 to 7 years. And then at the end of that, you can still trade off and start over again without the big upfront cost of, $300,000+. So using Sourcewell, as you've heard me talk about that in the past, they basically do the whole bid process for us. They tell us, yep, your best bid's going to be Volvo. You can go right with them. They do the meeting minutes. They accommodate to all that. They supply us with the information. So I do have a gentleman with us tonight. He's the vendor for airing equipment who offers Volvo. We sat down, we worked out the build for that piece of equipment, and we also worked with our equipment operators to what machine they would prefer to be able to operate, because ultimately they're the ones in that cab, and I'm not even in that cab very often. So building off that, we put together this piece of machinery. We went through a lease program underneath Sourcewell, and we'll show you some information on that. And then as soon as I get through some of that, I'll bring Keith up to talk about airing, relationship that we have, and why Volvo makes such a good equipment, along with references from other counties. So with that being said, we'll start. We do. We have a John Deere, and then we have a Hitachi. Yeah, it's a Hitachi. The Hitachi is the old unit. That thing is in need of major repairs at this point, new pins and everything. Airing was kind enough to give us a very good trade-in price for what that kind of shape that piece of equipment is in. So we'll be replacing that one. The John Deere is what we currently run our mulching head with. Again, that unit's starting to show its age, but it's still a nice piece of equipment, well usable. But it's time to, with that mulching head, to switch it over to a new piece of equipment that has the proper hydraulics, the pumps that aren't worn out to be able to run it. So the Hitachi will be traded in upon receiving a new piece of equipment, and then the new Volvo preferably would be its replacement. The John Deere would fall into second in line. So we'll start off with the Sourcewell stuff from Volvo. So this is what the contract quote comes back at, valid for 90 days. So this is all this information you're seeing on the screen is the totals all added up. So for the Volvo 180 is 331,000. And Keith, why don't you step up here with me and we'll go over this information together in case I mess something up. So we're looking at $331,570 for just that piece of equipment for 8 and PDI. Then the trade of the 2005 Hitachi that we currently have, he's given us $20,000 for that. And I definitely agree that that's a phenomenal trade-in price for what kind of shape that piece of equipment's in. So that brings us down to $297,070. So right here, you can see the build sheet on it, everything that comes standard, everything that we've added on. Let's scroll down to the bottom. This is the big things that we've added, like a 2-piece boom. Normally it's called the stick and the boom, and it's just 2 pieces. Now you have 3, so it gives you the capability of reaching underneath a box culvert a lot better from the road to reach in there and pull out those, brush piles, or when people decide they want to plug them with brush. The digging brake, it's just the extra features we added on. We are going to green LEDs mixed with amber, so that was additional. And then the big thing was the steel wrist, which we call it's a tilt rotator. Gary, I believe you're probably familiar with these units. On the end of the boom, they give you a 360-degree turn radius, and then they also allow you to tip and really shape your ditches a lot better. And it also comes with a cassette claw too, so if you need to go grab a tree or something, you can just grab right onto that with the excavator and go to her. So with all the additions, the total list price came out to $558,199. Thanks to Sourcewell, why we use them, they save us 40% on the total cost, so they're offering it to us for $331,570. So go into the financing option. So we looked at financing. We decided to go with a 7-year term because that keeps our cost well below 50,000, or not well below, but right at just less than 50,000. It's not something we need to take to full county board. Again, we're doing this for a replacement for 2024. They do have a piece of equipment coming in, right, Keith? So that they have a 180 coming in. It's their last piece available for another year. So that's the reason to move on this now. So 7 years, they got us a 5.79% interest, which is good. They gave us the $20,000 on trade. So per year, we'd only be paying $49,994.65. At this point, I'm going to hand it off to Keith. He's going to talk a little bit about airing, about Volvo, some of the features they offer, the warranty, and then their lifetime warranty on the boom. And then I'll also pull up the reference sheet. So, because we did a little bit of homework here, we also reached out to what other counties are using for a piece of equipment to see what kind of luck they've had with Volvo. So, Keith.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. First off, does anybody have any questions for me?
What engine?
This will have a Volvo motor. Yes, sir.
Horsepower?
Yeah, I've got all the spec sheets right in front of me. I know so many different doggone machines that I don't have them all memorized, to be honest with you. This ought to be a, oh God, you're better off pulling the thing right up. If you go straight to
But that
specs.
hydraulics they're talking about, it's gonna take the power.
Oh, absolutely, but here's why, okay, I'll give you my song and dance, right? You don't have an awful lot of wheeled excavators being used in the United States. It's just not as prevalent. These things were originally developed over in Europe, and there's a reason for it, right? Here in the United States, the vast majority of the construction projects that we're doing are typically new installs, right? I mean, they're going out and they're moving big dirt, and it's on a specific site, and it's done on tracks. In Europe, the vast majority of the infrastructure is already developed. It's been there for, I mean, you got cobbled streets that have been there hundreds of years, right? So in Europe, the vast majority of all excavating is done with wheeled excavators. And Volvo and Liebherr are the machines of preference over in Europe. And the reason I know this stuff is I met Josh 3 years ago, but I spent my last 4 years in the Army stationed in Germany. So I lived there, and that's where I grew familiar with Volvo to start with. And my point in all this is, if you want a wheeled excavator, go with whoever owns the global market. And when it comes down to wheeled excavators, Volvo owns it. They make, well, it's kind of like buying a Mercedes over in Europe. It's just what always gets purchased. The Swedes only own about 13% of the market. That's all they want. They don't want to get any bigger, but the stuff that they build, it's amazing. So if you go with the wheeled excavator, it gives you the transportability. I mean, that's what you guys are purchasing this thing for. But when you want to get in there and look at the specs on it, the head that you guys are talking about running is typically, what do you gotta have on that? I think it was like 24 to 26 gallons per minute on the head.
No, that's.
Or was it 32? Okay.
So.
The current one, your current John Deere just doesn't have the hydraulic flow for it, but on the Volvo, you got the capability of running 99 gallons a minute. I mean, if you're over in Europe, a wheeled excavator is like a Swiss Army knife. It does everything. So they put these things together to basically function to do all of the stuff that you're gonna ask it to do. Do you have any questions on anything in particular?
I got one for Josh at the beginning. You mentioned that John Deere compared to the other ones, not really apple to apple, but so much of an age difference. Did you put it out for bids, John?
So again, the bidding process was already done through Sourcewell. That eliminates me having to actually do all the spec and send it out and then deal apples to apples. They've already done that for you. They've already said Volvo is going to be your cheapest price. He represents Volvo through Airing, so we just get to go directly through them. It just saves a whole lot of hassle, and it takes all the liability off our shoulders, whether we did the bids correctly or not. So that's why we, said a couple months ago, we were going to proceed forward with Sourcewell and look at this Volvo.
It doesn't exceed the Volvo over.
So the LeBaer, we did consider that option, but the closest dealer for LeBaer, I believe, is in northern Wisconsin. So I got to look at if we have an issue, how long is it going to take to get that piece of equipment back on its feet? We already have a good standing relationship with Airing. When we have issues, call them up. They'll bend over backwards to get service techs to us. So, and this comes with another premium care package where everything is going to be taken care of on the piece of equipment while it's underneath lease. So. And to answer your original question, the engine is a Volvo D6J, and its net horsepower is 126. Oh, I'm sorry, 169. What's that? You're pushing just over 41,000, I think it is 41,000 pounds.
Questions for either one?
I guess I have a question. To the displacement of the fluid when it comes to the head that you guys are. You said it. What it requires and this one's pushing.
So they push 99, which is high. Is that what you're referring to? Is, you know, it's too, you're worried that it's too many gallons per minute for what it requires.
Just
So
when it comes to the hydraulic, output, the John Deere, I mean, if you're upgrading the unit because of the flow per minute, aren't you able to upgrade the pump?
yes, you can. The upgrading the pump was gonna be $30,000 in that piece of equipment. It was not worth, you can go ahead and replace the pump, but you still got a H piece of equipment.
An issue if that's the
Generally, when I look at a replacement piece of equipment, I look at what we currently have, and if it's something I can have maintained, fixed up, cheaper than what I can have it, replaced for, within reason, of course, that's what I'll do. But in this case, the Hitachi is the one we're replacing, but it's just using the attachment that's currently on the John Deere will be going to the Volvo because it has a better hydraulic system.
John has a question for you.
Yeah, I was looking at the proposal, and maybe this is wishful thinking on my part, but in the event that the county could pay it off early, is there an opportunity for the county to do that rather than extend it this full 7 years?
There is no penalty for early payoff.
Yeah, I just did 17,000 interest year one. At that rate. That going rate, Mr. Cosgrove? Probably now, that's kind of what I thought. Any other questions, comments, concerning? All within your budget, I assume, Mr. Elder?
Correct. We are planning on this for 2024, but if it does, you know, if it was to arrive sooner, we do have the capabilities of taking it this year.
I think we should look at if the money's available and stuff quits breaking down.
Don't bet on that.
Yeah, don't bet. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we can get to that later.
Okay. What do you need from us? Motion to move forward?
Correct.
I'll make a motion.
Motion and second over there in the northwest corner. Any other discussions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay? Yes, sir.
So underneath kind of replacement of equipment, I wanted to give you guys an update. I spoke with Craig Potter earlier today. He was the guy that sold us the 2 Western Stars. One, the first truck is still holding for June, which is great. The other truck wasn't even supposed to come off the assembly line till October. It has now been moved up to August. So we're pretty happy with that so far.
How many trucks are we still behind?
At this point, about 5 or 6 more.
No, I mean that we've purchased.
Oh, that we have on order 4. When we're still waiting
Did
on
we ever get the 2 that was like 4 years ago or whatever it was?
the first, so the 2 that we ordered a couple years ago at this point, they're not expected to start off the assembly line till maybe November or December this year. We might get 1, but now they're saying it's probably going to kick to next year. So we're getting these 2 Western Stars the same year we ordered.
Where's that guy at that said that they were gonna, he guaranteed, yes, well, they guaranteed from
Yeah,
December.
you're referring to Hank, but yeah,
These
he
trucks
remembers
almost
that.
free by now, I would think.
No, he's still working for him, but
They're gonna honor that price, otherwise are we
Yes.
better off flushing that and start over?
no, they're going to honor that price.
All right.
That's the only advantage of that.
I do have something back on I see on the property management report, Mr. John, do we have to approve that? There's a item in your folder, property management report, recommendation or action language, motion to accept and file the property management report. Do you think that is?
I assume so. I don't know what past practice has been, but I'm looking at Randy. Is that something that the committee usually
It isn't on the agenda, but
Yeah,
unless it falls under,
It was part of the property management report, and I just seen that we were supposed to motion to accept and file property management. All right, Cosgrove, Cooley, in favor, opposed, nay, none. Future agenda items. Do we have any that were? Well, that was good, Mr. Carroll brought it up for personnel and finance, an update on the radio tower, a very good idea, because we haven't heard much lately, but I don't know. Nothing much happened in the highway department, our shed's still standing, and
Shed's still standing, yeah,
Okay.
that's all there.
I think it was from last month. There was the UW campus tree ID and identification and trimming that was postponed. I don't know when that was supposed to be postponed to. 'Cause it wasn't-
Yeah,
it wasn't at the meeting, so-
Sean is gonna try and get Platteville to do it, so we'll be
Okay.
doing it.
I just didn't know if it needed,
Faith in
I just
Platteville,
didn't,
Sorry.
yeah, I just didn't know if it needed to be on the agenda for next time or some.
Good idea.
You got a chainsaw?
Put the trees on for next month, because I've had one guy look at them. Carol, give me another guy's name. You know of anybody that might be interested?
Just to get it.
For free. Yeah, I already had him on.
Oh, mentioning the trees, you're gonna put that out for bids.
Oh, yeah.
If you found somebody that would take the trees for nothing, what would be your? Take the trees for,
Not charge us to cut them down. We just have to have some type of liability, proof of insurance and. Yeah, that's a question for Mike. But bring it next month and we will have it on the agenda. Cause right now, there's cars parking underneath them because it's only trees, they're all around all the parking lots.
how many did you say there was against me?
0.5 ash and there's 3 maple that need to come down.
Where's this at?
Campus. Everything around the parking lot, so I have kind of prioritized the ones around the parking lot, there's some nice big ones, like in the middle of the yard, that I really don't want to put them going into the ground for. My opinion. Anyway,
We had a committee that took down a lot of them at the parking lot here at the courthouse.
liability.
We had liability then too.
Yeah, we did. No longer are, only 2 of us are still on the board that were involved with that. Pretty. So, anyway, no, we can try to have a work day, but I think our corporate counsel is gonna frown on it, so.
I think the insurance company would also frown.
Yeah, so. That would become an awful expensive free work day. But if not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
16th, right?
Till Tuesday night
6 o'clock.
at what date is that?
16.
16th, May 16th, 6 PM right here. Same time, same again. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, nay. 6 bells.